Okay, so we are now live on the YouTube link, and we do have a pretty full, here, Sean.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Hey, Sean.
Hey,
We are live and we're doing well. We
Great.
are live and ready to roll.
Glad everybody, yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late, and just reviewing the agenda. Have you guys had a chance to look it over the July minutes?
Is this the part where make a motion to approve the July Community Tree Council and Community Tree Council Committee meeting minutes?
I think that's exactly right.
I'll make the motion or I'll second it. I don't know if Rodney made it, but if not, I'll make it or I'll second it.
Me too.
All in favor? It is passed. Okay. So swiftly moving on to the next item, Treasurer's report. Pam, thanks for sending that out. Any words of note there?
Rodney will attach a copy to the minutes, I'm sure. The only changes from last month are that we got 26 cents of interest on our money market account and the check for $250 to the graphics artist was cashed. Those are the only two changes from last month.
Got it. Well, we're rolling.
Oh, I should say that I've been working with Jessica to get the new PayPal donation set up on the new website. So I sent her a link for that yesterday. I'm sure she'll report on it, that part of the agenda.
Great, thanks, Pam. So on to the next item. Thanks for last month we were very prompt and even finished up a little early, thankfully. So our plan is to do the same thing. We'll stay on task. The other item on the executive committee was the work group approach. I think Andrew Saunders chimed in on and offered a workaround in having a formalized meeting, with the ACC approval and link and stuff. And Rodney, can you further explain?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So essentially, a work group can be formed to do tree council business instead of these ad hoc committees that we've been utilizing. And it can be formed as long as there are only 3 or 4 voting members on a work group, and the work group reports all their activities directly to the CTC. So basically, instead of an interview committee, there can be an interview work group. Non-voting members can also be on these work groups and contribute in that way.
Great, thank you. Anybody have anything to contribute there? Got it. Okay. So CPC Steering Committee. We discussed agenda items that have been inserted in their applicable sections throughout the rest of the agenda. one thing that I brought up in the past is making sure that everyone is involved or on a team, so to speak. And is everybody, all the new members, on a committee yet?
I am not on a committee.
Okay. Mary, I do really appreciate your involvement in the grants we're working on. I know you step in, and so essentially I feel like you are already. I really appreciate your contribution there. I know this will come up later in the agenda, but there is the ad hoc interview committee that we're going to be talking about later, and those of you who are interested in participating in that, that'd be great to get some fresh faces on that. I think according to the bylaws, I'm locked in personally as the president, but I think there's some other members of the ad hoc interview committee that are interested in stepping off, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Anything else, guys? All right. There was also a mention of establishing a CPC historian. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go to the library in special collections room, I believe, but it's pretty outdated information. We're looking back into like the Mary Hodgson in the early founders days in there. And, pretty incomplete information as far as like the tree plantings and the events and stuff. And so that's one notion that we had is to modernize that record keeping. And I'm not sure, Rodney, if it was you or someone else suggested establishing a historian to kind of organize and keep track of all that stuff. And potentially being an emeritus member to do that. But in-house, does anybody have any interest, or at least for those present, of that torch?
Hey, Sean, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you because I think somebody isn't muted. I didn't hear a little bit of that.
Do you think it's something on my end?
I was hearing it also, Sean. It sounds like maybe a little bit of background noise. Maybe it's hard to tell.
My kids right now. I'll tell them to quiet down here a little bit. 1 second. Hey, Ezra, you have to be quiet. Time out.
Hey, Sean, I know that jam pretty well.
Good, right? Yeah. They're real loud angels. So just to backtrack, Stacy, the special collections room and the file that contains all of the founding documents and the tree grove plantings and all the other events, it's pretty incomplete, and it hasn't been really contributed to for quite a while now. And so I think Rodney or someone brought up the notion of having a historian and potentially being an emeritus member. Was that you, Rodney?
That was me. Sean, is there any chance that Laura Carter has ever been a member of the Tree Council?
That's no, but that's a great. I know her. She would be
Yes.
great.
And
Right.
she has worked in that room, and there's not a better record keeper that I could think of. But
I think you're right.
I'd be
you
happy to
know,
shoot her an email.
that'd be great. I have her email too. And
Okay.
but go ahead. That'd be great.
Okay.
Perfect. And Rodney, was there a notion of digitizing this process as well? I imagine.
It was somebody mentioned it. It was not me, but I think it's a great idea. There's actually a lot of opportunities with a historian position to continue the records, which are pretty good, and continue writing the CTC history, but also digging through the files and helping organize them and keep the relevant information fresh in our collective memory. I think it would help a lot, definitely.
Does the historian have to be a member of the tree council?
They don't have to be a voting member, no.
Okay.
Well, great point. Okay. Mary, that's a great idea. Because she was a former librarian, right? Or at least she worked in library.
Yeah, she worked in the rare books rooms and has done a lot of ancestry work in the community. And I happen to know that since the world's gone sideways, she's a little bored. So we might be able to pick her brain a little.
Okay, great. I like that idea. Nice work.
Okay.
So on to we're being very efficient today. Nice work. So on to new business and the fundraising. Once again, thank you for Mary and everybody else that's working on Nina and the gang that's working on the grant writing and application. Can you guys offer an update to that, please?
Yeah, I think we put together all the information and sent it off to Stacy, and I believe Stacy was able to submit that in time. The deadline was extended a couple of weeks, which helped us out.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody good eyes on it. And I also submitted, I did make sure I got some confirmation that they received it. So fingers crossed.
What's the timeline for hearing about it?
I'll have to go back and double check. I feel like it was end of, so I can check while we're on this call to see.
That's pretty quick.
I talked with Seth a couple weeks ago. Thanks for joining us, Seth. About some other grant opportunities, and one of them was the Georgia Relief Program. We've missed the deadline on that, but I think Seth, we talked about maybe at least applying in 2021 for a potential execution of 2022, I believe. But it's as indicated in the agenda, it's veteran related, so it would be associated with some park or potentially establishing a tree grove in that respect. Seth, I think what was there? Did you mention that there was something in Oconee County? They did a tree planting there.
There might have been one in Oconee. I know we were trying to put one together. It kind of fell apart. So yeah, just a little quick background. Relief is through the Georgia Tree Council. If you read the application on the website, it's going to say up to $5,000. But just full disclosure, usually there's about $5,000 to $8,000 total sitting in that pool of money, and they try to divvy it up to as many worthy applicants as possible. So, for example, like City of Clayton applied, and they'll probably receive like $1,400 this year. Good Hope's only getting $800 and something dollars. Then Hamilton and another place in Hiawassee is getting almost $2,000. So I always try to tell people to aim a little small, just because unless you want to get your hopes dashed, because if we apply for a full 5,000, they would probably come back and say, here's a counter offer kind of thing. Usually the deadline's in the spring, April, sometimes May. It kind of fluctuates each year. But yeah, the money can be used to buy trees, mulch, or watering supplies. There's no match required. I usually try to encourage communities to get the mulch and watering supplies, lent to them or donated, just so we can spend all of the money on trees. But yeah, so one of the requirements of that grant is a GFC forester helping with the project and lining it up. So I would be have my hands in the dirt from start to finish with it to work with y'all on it. So I see somebody just said in the chat about sending over an application. For sure, I can send it to Rodney or just to one of the group emails that Rodney shared, and I'll send over a blank application and one from the past as well.
Cool. I think you actually sent one to me too. So thank you. That sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's as John mentioned, it's either for storm damage replacement or veterans parks. It doesn't even have to be a full park rededication. You can just rededicate like a playground or a walking track, in honor of some group of veterans. It usually makes for really good PR, because usually the VFW will get involved sometimes in the planting. So it ends up being a really cool project.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, so off to the ad hoc interview committee. Unless somebody else have anything to cover on fundraising.
Yeah, Sean, there on that list, it says State Farm. There's a State Farm community grant. I think, Joe, you found this. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I think Joe brought this to our attention at some point. But I'm looking at it now, and I remember September being this important date. That's why I wanted to look at it today. And I don't see an announcement for the 2021. It looks like they took applications fall of 2019 for the 2020 funding cycle, and then they haven't released anything for 2021. So if anyone knows more about this, or maybe they're looking at a different website, let us know, because I think it could be that we'd have to vote to decide whether we're going to apply for this before the, by the next meeting, I think.
I looked up some stuff for it a few months ago. I thought I sent that around to the group, just some highlights of the grant. And you're correct on the September date, Nina. I didn't check back to see anything about this year specifically, but it seemed like it was a go earlier in the year. If you want me to send that around real quick.
Sounds great. And so, would we need to make a motion to at least apply for that this meeting, you think? Is that what you suggested, Nina?
It depends on the due date, and if they're going to accept applications this fall.
Okay.
The page that I'm looking at doesn't say anything about 2021, but maybe Mark, you found something different.
Got it. Okay. All right, we'll wait to hear from you, Mark. All right.
I think if they offer it, we ought to go for it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just real quick. Sorry, I finally pulled it up. And I guess I was just pulling this information from last year because I only have the 2019 dates on here. It said the window was from September 1st through October 31st. I will send all this to you right now, and then I'll inquire about it this week to make sure that it's going on. Grants range from 5,000 to 25,000.
Yeah, got it. Nina, I can't remember when we applied to the Synovus grant or the Synovus grant last year. I know we didn't get it, but I can look into that one as well.
Yeah, I wonder if did you apply twice?
I have not.
Just once? Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it occurs to me that grant writing should be maybe part of one of the subcommittees that we have. I don't know which one is most appropriate for, but there's a lot to keep track of with deadlines. And some of these are like rolling, like they accept applications on a rolling basis, and sometimes it's just a matter of trying until you get funding. So for example, we submitted to Georgia Power twice and it was declined twice. We've applied to Synovus and it was declined. But it could just, it could just vary based on who else is applying and the types of things that the program is looking to fund in that given year. So I don't think we should give up on these. But again, I think it does take some dedicated people to keep track of deadlines and put materials together in order to make something like this happen. So any thought, like do we have a committee that would be appropriate to house these responsibilities, or are we looking at an ad hoc?
Good question.
It could also be a work group if there aren't too many members involved.
I'm sure they can manage that.
Hey, Sean, I just, I went and I looked at the grant and they don't have an announcement about grant. So I sent off an email to National just to see if we could get a better idea. So I'll send an email to everyone and let everyone know when I find out.
Cool, thanks. And I just looked in my calendar. I think we applied. I think we applied for Synovus, essentially around this time of year, because I see in my calendar that I was to look. I think we got notification that in November or so we didn't get it anyway. So I would imagine it was sometime soon. So I'll look into that and potentially reach out to Jake, the former member who had to step off due to work related issues. So maybe he'd be willing to offer some insight. I know Young did as well, but maybe both of them. I'll reach out. Okay. All right. Anything else, guys?
Can I ask one quick question while Seth's here? We discussed the Making the Shade grant in the Education Committee, and I was getting it confused with Georgia Power, one of the other grants we were applying for. What's the timeline on Making the Shade, just so we're aware?
So Making the Shade, there's not a solid deadline on it. It's kind of just getting with us during the summer months so we can get everything planned before the fall, if we're kind of crunch time. I'll say this, we probably would need, I've got a couple lined up in other communities this coming winter. And we did those three so close to each other. Basically the people above me are like, we need to spread the love to some other counties. But I think after waiting another year, we could probably convince them to do another site in Athens. So as far as if you're applying through GFC, the deadline, like I said, no formal deadline, but really I like to start planting them in August at the latest. For like a December or January planting. So we could probably look at next summer starting to get together and picking out another school and at least, trying to get a project together.
Okay, that's great.
I was Making the Shade.
Planning a whole theatrical thing for us to film and send in as part of our application. So we'll get that for next year.
So Seth, just out of curiosity, how many applicants did you have this year for making the shade?
2, and then I'm pretty much set up. I've got one of them finalized and another one we're working on setting up. We're going to be doing a lot of school planting projects in the southwest part of the state to make, recover from Hurricane Michael and all the trees they lost. So I'm probably going to be focusing some of my efforts down that way. But yeah, so we haven't gotten a ton of applications this year, especially with all the schools being so in flux. And like I said, I don't really have confidence that either of these that I'm working on are going to be possible. I just don't know how we'll do a group tree planting project and the optics not be so bad on it. So it's all still kind of up in the air, but yeah, we didn't get a lot of applications. It pretty much falls on whatever region the application comes from, if that community forester is willing to take the project on, and if it's, meets all the criteria. So.
I see.
Hey, Seth, here's what I think. Because I've been a part of these grants for so long, I feel like in Athens-Clarke County, so we should do a mentoring film, like Mark was suggesting, some sort of filming, to help other folks learn how best to approach some of these school planting projects, the tree planting projects, because I think in some ways, Athens-Clarke County, like we really have a lot of experience with some of these grants. And I think we could help other communities in Georgia with their tree canopy, particularly their schools. So that might be an idea, a way in for you to want to give us that grant again.
Yeah, pretty much like I said, I would just have to check with our grants management people and see if they've kind of forgotten that we did so many in Athens recently. But I think I could sweeten the pot with some kind of thing like that. We don't have, I know I just mentioned the 2 applicants. We don't really have an issue with finding hosts for making the shade sites. It's really of a capacity issue for us. There's just me in 49 counties. So that kind of is the limiting factor, is just only having me in the region. But I think it'd be a great way. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a video to lead them to apply to making the shade. It can be a video to approach the overall problem of not having trees on playgrounds. So yeah, I'd be happy to get involved with that, and I can mention that to Joan and see if I can sweeten the pot. So
Yeah, don't tell Joan I asked.
I'll act like it came from me. Yeah, but she likes you all a lot, so that might help. So
I mean, we're having that's kind of the same issue with the grant that we just submitted. We've received it so many times that we sort of have to like tread lightly and, really maybe not apply every year. However, I will say that I think we do a good job when we do these planting projects, and we fulfill all the requirements, and we tend to serve as a community who has had success with some of these tree planting projects. So, that's sort of the approach I take with KAB National when they sort of look at me like, you guys again, so.
Well, like I said, I'll chat with Joan about it and see, because it's been a couple years now. So we'll see what we can work out. I mean, even if we could just do she might say, like, let's do a smaller scale project or something. Doesn't necessarily have to be 45 trees, but we'd like 45 trees. So, but I'll work on it on my end.
Great, thanks, Seth. So we have an action item coming up, and just to double back, and it's in regard to the CPC ad hoc interview committee, and it's whether to dissolve it or not, basically, and it pertains to the workaround on the official meeting. In an attempt to streamline the process. And so, guys, Rodney, do you have any input as to, can you clarify or help clarify the motivation?
Yes, so this was part of the steering committee discussion, and with this option to form work groups and and not having to form all these different ad hoc committees, it just seems like a more streamlined process. The work groups don't really have to keep minutes. They just need to report directly to the CTC on all the actions they've taken. And that way they can focus on doing the work. And CTC makes decisions about, what work it is that they want them to do. So it's a good arrangement. The downside to that is it will take up a little more community council time, discussing some of this, some of the actions that the council might want them to take. On the upside, it eliminates a whole lot of paperwork and that sort of thing. But the main factor is that it cannot be a quorum of CTC members present, so it can really only consist of 3 or 4 CTC voting members. But emeritus members and other members can be a part of these work groups and can contribute in that way.
Got it. Thank you. And any of you have any input? Guys?
Yeah, no brainer. I think we ought to. That's a group that really needs to meet in person. I think this would be a good workaround, like you said, Sean.
Great. All right. So I put it to vote. I move that we vote to dissolve, or at least vote to dissolve the CTC ad hoc interview committee and replace it with a CTC interview group. Take a vote. Move that to a vote. All in favor?
Did we get a second?
Sorry.
I second it.
Okay. Move it to a vote. All in favor?
Yeah.
Like it's passed. So we have voted to dissolve the CTC ad hoc interview committee and replace it with a CTC interview work group.
And just for clarification, I should read the exact wording. It basically dissolved the ad hoc CTC interview committee and replace it with a CTC work group of 3 to 4 CTC members who will advertise open CTC membership positions, conduct interviews to select member nominees, and report directly to the CTC.
Okay. So at this point, we polled the group. Who's interested in being on this interview committee? Okay, Edith, Rodney, Jim. Okay, and I think I'm on it, right? Anyway, okay. All right. So anything else in that matter? Okay. So trees for tomorrow. Looks like Phil is absent today. But
I've been in communication with Phil, so I feel comfortable to move forward with this agenda, if that's all right.
Sure.
So Phil did send me an email, and he said, in light of our current understanding of the program's purpose, I think the retraction of our unseconded motion and the substitution of the proposed alternative motion is appropriate. Further, I support the change in record keeping for donations and growth status to some digital format, which could be more easily managed, publicized, and kept current. So that's the message he sent. I'll do my best to summarize this conversation and sort of what has happened. with the Trees for Tomorrow ad hoc committee, the CTC has had a Trees for Tomorrow program. After the steering committee meeting, I was digging and in the files and kind of organizing them to pass them off to Phil or whoever has an interest in picking them up. Because one of the questions was, what's the historical context of the Trees for Tomorrow program? And what I found is that the Trees Tomorrow program was formulated by the CTC specifically for raising money and planting, raising money for Athens-Clarke County community groves. So this would include areas like the schools, the Athens Housing Authority, parks, Greenway, Firefly Trail, and other Athens-owned properties. With that in mind, it was approved by the Mayor and Commission for the fundraising, and there seemed to be a couple little rules about that fundraising, and so there is this program and mechanism already in place. And so the question was, this kind of piggybacked on the question that asked, should the CTC dissolve the Trees for Tomorrow ad hoc committee and replace it with it was a question about forming a Trees for Tomorrow like program for planting trees on playgrounds at the schools. And so then the next question was, if there's already a program in place, why not use that one? So that motion, there was a motion made, but the meeting ran out of time before it was seconded. And so it's like the steering committee kind of picked up the discussion on some level. One of the things that the steering committee talked about was that if the Trees for Tomorrow program is continued, at least the members of the steering committee believe that it would be good to pare down the outdated aspects of the program, like the tree legacy book in the library, the plaques, and instead maybe just keep a Trees for Tomorrow page on the CTC website for record keeping and acknowledgments of the groves that are being planted as part of the Trees for Tomorrow program. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? So basically, it's basically Phil thinks it's a good idea to drop this motion and to replace it with an alternative motion. But before doing so, it would probably be good for the Tree Council to have a discussion about that.
So in the last discussion and talking about the elements that weren't working as far as Phil was concerned, that made a lot of sense to me to essentially prune that. And I think that not changing the foundation so that we can legally be fundraising, but talking about the language and how we currently need it. I mean, I feel like Joe, it's like that seems like a no-brainer. So it'd be more useful all around.
I'm definitely in favor of keeping things as simple as we can.
Me too.
So can we use these descriptions, Rodney, as the basis for the vote?
Yes, I could read the motion, and we could have a little more discussion if needed, and see where that goes. So the first motion was not seconded. The alternative motion is to dissolve the Trees for Tomorrow ad hoc committee, but retain the Trees for Tomorrow as a CTC program for the specific purpose of raising money and planting groves of trees on Athens-Clarke County properties, such as ACC school grounds, Athens Housing Authority properties, greenway and firefly trails, parks, etc. The Trees for Tomorrow ad hoc committee will be replaced with a Trees for Tomorrow CTC organizational work group for the purpose of conducting Trees for Tomorrow program activities and shall consist of no more than 3 to 4 voting CTC members, but may include all emeritus and ex officio members and report directly to the CTC. So I'll go ahead and make that an official motion.
One small language thing, so like the housing authority is in Athens-Clarke County property. So maybe we change the language to say Athens-Clarke County property and other properties, or appropriate properties, or something that can include properties like the housing authority, because they're not actually owned by Athens-Clarke County. And then that might open it up to, if there was ever a reason we would do it on private property, to not exclude that possibility.
I like that. Maybe we say something like "and other public property."
Okay, I will go ahead and change that to read planting groves of trees on Athens, Clarke County public properties, and just leave it at that.
Does that work though? Because like, I don't, and I'm just asking, do you think that is inclusive enough so that we could do, I don't know.
I could put in a qualifier and just make examples such as Athens Public Schools and Greenway Trails and Parks. I'll put the qualifier in that way.
Forgive me for opening up this can of worms. Have we hashed that through enough?
It could if the tree council desires it, but it doesn't have to.
Involved the other memorial type groups, is that correct?
No, that was never dissolved. I think part of the motion to dissolve the Trees for Tomorrow program may have been as a result of believing that the memorial groves were the primary was the primary type of groves being installed by the Tree Council. But when I look at the records, that's not necessarily true. There have been several different types of groves, and many of them on school grounds.
Yeah. I've been on the council for 4 or 5 years. I still can't keep all straight. But yeah, I think that language sounds good.
We won't ever need to do anything on private property again that need to be included in this, just in case, or?
I think the council can make an arrangement with any private property owner to do whatever they would like to.
Yeah, so it would just not be a part of Trees for Tomorrow, I wish. Okay.
Okay, so you've made a motion, is that right?
Yes.
Rodney? Okay.
Second.
Is there a second? Yeah. We put that to a vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, it is been passed.
and I'll just talk with Phil, and you know, the participants of that program may need to be discussed a little bit, but I think Phil should be a part of that conversation. But if there's anyone who's interested, we'd love to have you.
Great, thank you. So, Education Committee is up next. Mark, you want to take it away?
Sure. We had a good first meeting amongst us, and I'll just go through a few tasks we're working on just so you guys are aware, and then if anyone has some stuff to contribute going forward, feel free to hop in or send me an email. We are looking at 2 different tracks of disseminating information. One of those would be for schools, and then the other one would be for the community and professionals. So we're trying to take that that focus so that we just kind of know where we're going. It's a little bit different for each group, so I think it's a great idea. We are looking at revising a little bit of the materials, discuss some of the brochures and pamphlets that we currently have. And we've also started to look at some of the materials just from some of our other tasks that other organizations have out there. So if people see something, especially if it's something we can print for free, please send that our way. We probably don't have to change as much up as I kind of thought originally, but we're just kind of looking through some of the old stuff we have, which reminds me of needing to get with Rodney, but I'll send you a individual email one of these afternoons, Rodney, and maybe I can stop by your office and look through the boxes that you have. In terms of professional education, looking at some opportunities for lunch and learn type demonstrations for the professional community, which could be really interesting. Lee was thinking about possibly starting out with ACC employees, just because we can probably get folks at Landscape to agree to this, but then branching out from there, maybe county extension, and then even into the private companies that work here in town. In terms of community education, we've been looking at what some of the other groups, Edith looked through Trees Atlanta and Arbor Day Foundation and a few other websites out there. A lot of folks are kind of just doing the virtual thing right now with COVID, so we're not trying to flood that system, but we're going to plan to work on a few programs that we can have as that'll accompany our new website as we move into the new year, and hopefully have a little bit more flexibility so that those can be taken into the community for learning as well. And a discussion evolved around environmental education in Georgia that Stacy and Edith are both looking into. Has a lot of good stuff for kids and for teachers. The last thing we talked about was the Making the Shade grant. So I didn't realize what went into that in the past. I thought that was one of the other ones we had done where we just applied, but it looks like in the past we had a lot of things go out to the schools, such as art contests and poetry contests and things like that, which I didn't even understand was a component of it. So I thought that was really cool. But we'll keep that up for next year and see what Seth has to say. And that's kind of where the education committee is at right now.
Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, so that brings us to the policy committee. We, in our meeting a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? I can't remember. We talked about among the members polling, what was important for us on the committee, and what we would like to see change in the tree ordinance. And it was interesting input on it, and I think valuable. So Rodney, you mentioned developing or establishing stakeholders, and they'd be somewhat of a voice for us. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. So it is important to consider, who is being affected by an ordinance change, or potentially who might be affected, and having some sort of format for public feedback. And there is an old stakeholder list that the CTC organizations the CTC engaged as it created the tree ordinance, which would be a good starting point. And there's also opportunities for public forums as well, deliberative processes potentially to get feedback from citizens on what might be wanted and why. So I actually have had a couple ideas since the committee meeting, but it might be interesting to ask the tree council, the full tree council itself, the questions that the committee members answered, and put that all together and see what comes out.
And Rodney, are you going to share those by email? We collect those, or
I could, if people are interested, I certainly could do that. I have two sets of questions in mind, and they're pretty basic and wouldn't take long to answer, and can become a data set of sorts to start having a conversation about potential ordinance changes and other aspects of the community forest management as well.
I think that'd be a great activity. We have, we all share the passion for trees here, but we do have, cross section of backgrounds. So that'd be great.
I will make it so.
Oh, perfect, thank you. So, was there any table business that we didn't handle outside of the trees for tomorrow?
We still need to have the promotions committee report.
Oh yeah, my bad. Sorry, jump ahead. Mary or Mary?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so Jesse's done let me get this so it's centered right. Here we go. Jesse's done a lot of work on the website, and she will walk you through it. I'll hand that part over to her, and then I have a few other updates after she does that. But why don't we start with Jesse?
I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and hopefully my internet connection will hold through this. I've been having a little bit of trouble. So if you guys can't see what I'm trying to share, just stop me and let me know so that I'm not doing this needlessly. So just give me one moment to share this. Sorry. Good. Oh. Not that one. Okay, can you guys see?
It looks like it's trying to come through.
Somebody want to let me know when you can see it?
I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so the as you can see, I now have the new logo up in the corner. I'm not completely thrilled with this banner image of the tree that owns itself. I'm still kind of tweaking with it. So if you want to let me know your thoughts, I'm open to suggestions there. As you scroll on through, I stole a lot of the content from our mission statement and then also from the old website, and in terms of just the copy, not the pictures are all new. And then the main page links to some of the sub pages, which I'll get into, and then this links to the donation page. I'm not going to take too much time. You guys can also, I can share the link again, or the password again, so that you can do a little bit more digging through it if you would like to. So if you go to the About page, there we go. Then it kind of talks about, again, our mission statement with some updated pictures. This is not an actual quote. This is just a placeholder. I believe that Tori was working on compiling a list of like some of our accomplishments to include here. So I haven't gotten that data yet, so I haven't been able to put that in here. But once I get that, I can update this section. And then also, so that would be just kind of a summary, and then we can go into also more detail. Again, the copy here is not accurate. Lovely and Mary. So just highlighting ongoing Arbor Day and Emma. Talk about this for tomorrow, or what, you know, whatever compile can go in there. And then also I have the council members page. Nice picture of us, the good old days. And then everybody will have, I haven't finished putting these in here, but this is kind of what it'll look like. Then last but not least, we have the donate page. And so here are all our donation levels that we agreed on. And each of these is a link that will go to our PayPal account, so people can make a payment directly through our PayPal. And then eventually there is also a place at the bottom of this link also goes to the PayPal. There's a link at the bottom of some of these pages where you can sign up for a new, well, somewhere around here, you can sign up for our newsletter, which we haven't actually set in place yet. So eventually that'll be there. And then there's also a news page where we can, you know, put some of what we're currently working on as well. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Mary and I did finally just update the Instagram page with our new logo. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she literally just updated the Facebook page as well. So,
Mom
we're
messed it up.
actually
I'll
making
get it
some
done.
headway in doing that.
Well, yeah, it'll get done tonight. I royally messed it up, so we're back to what it was, but we'll get it done tonight.
Working on it.
Jesse, that's awesome. I'm so excited. I know that I propose that we let you keep tweaking and find what you really like in that banner page, and then, you know, kind of open it up then. But of course, anybody's welcome to comment. While it's fresh on my mind, I kind of want to circle back to that page. When the steering committee met and talked about having that sort of clearinghouse page to keep as a record for things we've done. So is there anything else, Rodney and everybody else that was a part of that conversation, that should be stated? What would you like that page to be titled? And what is the title of the book at the library, I guess? Like, how is that? Yeah, let us know your thoughts on wording and how you want these donors and projects to be kind of honored and remembered and recorded. That's one thing I'd like to talk about. Does anybody have any thoughts on that specifically?
Could just a photo gallery maybe, and like throw some.
Yeah.
In 20.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that yeah, that's great.
There's kind of two sections. I'm sorry to interrupt. There's kind of two sections on the website where one of them is kind of more about like our ongoing projects. Like I said, like what we do every year with MLK Day and Arbor Day, to kind of highlight those as like our featured projects. And then there's another place where I kind of envision it more of like, we planted X amount of trees. We did, so many grant funded whatever projects we did, and we can like list kind of the achievements that we've been able to accomplish in various years. So that's kind of, that way we have like more than one area that's highlighting what we do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I think there should be like a standard of what information goes on that page, like how many trees were, location, how many, and maybe species of trees, maybe how it was funded for each project. I think that would be a good way to list that. I don't know if we need to do, in part by private donations and thanks to the, Georgia Power grant that we're going to get. So does that sound about like what we were discussing on that call, Rodney?
That sounds excellent. That's a great idea, Jesse. I'm wondering if there should also be a page or a link for whatever programs the CTC is sponsoring. So that would include Trees for Tomorrow, and any other programs the Tree Council is actively or in the past has sponsored.
The website looks great, Jesse. Thanks for all your work on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, Jesse. Thank you.
There are also there's a few videos that were made. One was made when we did the Rock Springs planting, and the other one was done, Rodney was in that one on Broad Acres. I don't know if you can like embed a short video, but like showcasing like we planted at Rock Springs and here's a video, here's the video. So I don't know if that would help, but
yeah, I can definitely do that. If somebody wants to send those to me, I can. I have a Vimeo page. I can upload those to, and then I can link to it on the website. So yeah, those can be embedded.
Hey, Jesse, this is Stacy. One of the videos the Public Information Office did. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you know Jeff Montgomery and Jason Harwell. Do you know them?
I've met them, I think, at one of the, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, anyways, they did one of them, so they would have the best footage, I guess, or the cleanest version.
Out to them.
I think that we did, and I have that. So I thank you for the reminder, and I'm looking for it now.
I have a link or two as well if you need them.
Yeah, I think, Rodney, you might have shared that with me a few months ago. We'll double check on that. Yay, okay.
I was just concerned for a second because there's photos of children that we didn't get permission to put I'm assuming we didn't get their permission to put photos on the website. But I just did a quick search. I don't know, Lee, maybe you can help us with this, but is it illegal to put a photo of a minor on a website without getting permission from the parent?
I don't know if there's a law about it. I know that schools don't allow you to post pictures of minors, and that it may be related. I don't know if there's a specific law in Georgia.
We'll look into it.
Most of the pictures of the kids, except for there's 2 kids, most of them are our children. So it wouldn't apply in most cases, but there is one picture on the front page that we'll need to check into that for.
Yeah,
Which
that's
also happens to be my favorite one.
Broad Acres kids. Yeah.
Sean's kids.
Yeah, it's a great photo, so I hope we can use it.
And keep the photos coming to any of us on the committee, at any point. And it's time now that we have these logos up. I'll make an announcement on social media that, hey, look, we have new logos, and now we can start posting. Is the PayPal link active right now, Jesse? Sweet. Okay, so now we can start asking for that, some private donations in addition to the grant writing. Sorry, I lost my agenda here. Started looking for something else. Excuse me.
So I'd like to draw attention really quick to Mary Songster's question in the chat about do we dare have a spot can request plantings. That is something that needs to be addressed on the website. Call the other day from somebody who wanted to plant a tree as a memorial. And I ended up referring her to call Rodney because I didn't really know what to tell her. As the tree council, I told her, we tend to accept donations, but if you personally wanted to plant the tree, I don't really know what. So I think it's something that people are curious about and that it should be addressed, but maybe I might need help with the language of that just to make sure that I tell people correctly.
So are you saying people want to plant a tree in some location and they're asking to be able to do that?
That was the specific request I got, which might not be necessarily always the case, but I think people are curious about planting trees as a memorial. And so I think that giving them a place to get that information on our website would be helpful to the public.
So there's a couple issues. There could be some liability issues if someone got hurt in the process, which could be easy enough to do. A person could hurt their back or something. So that would be discouraged from that perspective. And also the grove concept really is to encourage a grove and to steer people away from becoming attached to any specific trees. So if they planted a tree, the chances are they're going to be keeping their eye on it. And then if it dies, then, the phone will start ringing, which has been a problem in the past. So I do have some language and I can look for that.
Okay. My intent was more what Jesse was saying, was not necessarily to agree to individual plantings, but to clarify what the tree council does and how they can participate and how it isn't necessarily single memorial trees, but to not turn them away entirely, to say it can be also part of this larger thing in the community, but just to clarify, not to encourage rogue tree planting. Although I do that myself.
Yeah, I think there is on that page that was sort of that sent you to the link to donate is a good place to have that description of,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of where I was thinking to place that.
Mhm.
Excuse me, is there any desire to have a buy a tree? Buy a tree. I know you have a donation page and it looks great, but I'm wondering if you could do a generic buy a tree and then give it this tree will be planted during the Arbor Day celebration, or this tree will be planted during some other event, but it's not necessarily a specific tree that's designated. It's just that you're enabling the CTC to plant this tree, and your donation is appreciated.
We have
you've got different levels of donations, but that doesn't enable an individual to just say, well, I'd like to just plant a tree. Can I donate, the money to get a tree planted, and not necessarily have it designated or anything like that. It's just more of a general contribution by the public.
I like the idea. I like the wording of that, and I like that idea. Maybe we could include on the donation levels where it sort of matches up with our estimates of what it's supposed to plant those trees at different sizes or whatnot. But because we have come up with a calculation for what a tree costs, and that sort of includes its care for the next 2 years and the cost of watering it, and it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. So it's a pretty stout donation, if so it's different than somebody just buying like a 3-gallon pot tree, from Lowe's or Kofer's or any other wholesale grower. So you get into what size tree or but I do want to say that although we have those donation levels, we will also encourage anybody to give any amount that they would like. We just sort of like that idea. But you do bring up a point that perhaps it would be a good opportunity for us to express what we find planting these trees actually costs, just to give people an idea. And I think that's part of the reason why this is a good place to house our timeline, so to speak, on another page to kind of commemorate the projects we've done, because people can see, like, I don't know if we'll have official dollar amounts for grants that we were given, but people could potentially get an idea of like what a project like that costs.
What about the idea of on the featured projects page, if there was a countdown, so to speak, say accepting donations for 5 trees for X or Y project, and then once that's been filled up, you just it's almost like on the fundraising where they have the temperature gauge, if they have something like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Just a thought.
I think that's a great idea too, because it allows people to, obviously people are, passionate about certain events and or locations that may mean something to someone, so I love that idea, like it being a spice drive for a given event or location.
I'm not going to tell you that that's beyond my web design capabilities, but I will need to do some research to figure out how to make that happen.
Seems like maybe we need some FAQs just to say how much does it cost to plant a tree. And,
oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And maybe some statement that all the money that's donated will go towards the planting of trees in Athens, but
and maintenance.
We wouldn't necessarily guarantee a specific tree.
I was going to suggest that I can add an additional page for that specific idea of, we can go into how much it costs to plant a tree and maintain it. And then also, if you want to plant a memorial tree, it'll be a part of a grove, and explain that. And then if you'd like to donate the cost of planting a tree here, and it'll have, a link to donate. And that would be separate from the donation page. So it'd be like multiple places where people would be encouraged to donate on the website. So it would be an entirely new page.
Could those pledge drives be kind of handled within social media, and then you could click a link on it and then be directed to our website?
Yep, and we can also send out some letters and snail mail if anybody feels comfortable. I don't know if you and I may have clients that would be, interested in, and I do have a letter that I've about done. I didn't work on it this month, but for people that I know personally, and I try to make it just vague and share it with all of you, and you can tweak it how you want it. But if you are so inclined to send out some letters but yeah, I think it's a great way to, honor somebody during the holidays, gift giving times, and so that goes back to maybe the education, or I don't know where we were talking about publications of things, but being prepared to have some note cards to go along with the donation, or a card of some sort, certainly to write a thank you note for certain levels, but also to, so we got all kinds of, but I think Jesse's point is true. It all comes back to like however you want to feel about giving us your donation. We can categorize it in a number of ways, but there are many ways to get to the PayPal link.
And I know for the two specific examples for me, like the nurses clinic and the food bank, they say like, when you have the donation levels and they say like, this does this much, this does this much, especially for the nurses clinic, it's important for me to know how expensive it is to keep that nurses clinic up and running, so that I tend to be a little bit more generous if I can, because I know how hard it is. So I think it's good information to have, and I don't think it will discourage, but possibly could encourage greater donations.
And I also think that stating if we do run into some costs, this maybe is for Mark, if he's still here, like letting us know what some of those supplies would cost, or Mary, you're here, for educational promotional materials. Like, it's a reality. So, okay, yeah, that's good too.
So on that page, I think Joe was supposed to be working on a iTree calculator. Like we can put on there, like, you also get this benefit of this carbon offset, from planting X amount of trees or whatever.
I think the other thing that's relevant too is that as we have a page that not only demonstrates that we've had an event and these trees were planted, we'd also like to acknowledge these individuals for their contributions, or these corporations. People like to see their name. You don't have to put a sign up by the grove, but if it's on the web page and it's just part of the historical documentation, it kind of tracks to, I hate to say it, but the people's ego is fulfilling to see that this project's been done, and then they're an acknowledged contributor. It doesn't designate a tree. It does say that they contribute to the grove and to the betterment of the community. So I think that's absolutely a necessity when you publish.
Yeah, and I think listing those donor levels, like at this,
I may be an anomaly, but I actually often donate anonymously, because someone who has to raise funds goes to this website and looks for those people's names, and then I contact them and ask them to donate for my thing. So there is a small contingent of people out there that don't want their name out there, so that people don't bug them all the time for donations.
But Mary, all you have to do is ask them.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's, I mean, it's as simple,
That's
it's as
total
simple as
option.
asking them
Yeah.
before you publish their
Yeah.
name. If they say no,
I think I'm an outlier.
yeah.
And as a business like New Urban, we would want our logo recognized, you know, as an organization that cares enough to give money. Like we would want our logo on the website, you know.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
Typically on these donation websites too, I mean, you can choose whether you want to type your name in or just say anonymous. I think that's pretty easy to do.
so we need to make a note that we should allow that option. Jesse, I am taking some notes, but I think that makes sense when somebody enters their name if they would like to remain anonymous. Any last minute thoughts before I feeling good about that? Again, thank you so much. That's great. I think this is a little bit out of my order on my agenda, but I think it's good to just go ahead and start talking about giving thanks to people that do donate at the higher donation levels. We have gone a little bit around. Do you all think that a gift for a donation at the highest level or some of the highest levels would be a good thing to have? I have located an artist on Etsy who has done sketches of the tree that owns itself. They're really cool. I could probably pull it up, but he was willing to sell us those sketches. They're 9x12 prints at $12 each. That's one thought. I didn't commit, but I did inquire. And then we also have some seedlings from acorns from the son of the tree that owns itself. And those would make a really nice gift. Those are gonna, but we have a limited quantity of those. So we talked a little bit about this in the steering committee. And I remember there were some opinions about people really just want to either see their name on the website and have a thank you note sent to them. I know I'm sort of doing some research on some other organizations like us, like Trees in the Columbus, Georgia Tree Organization, and then Trees Atlanta, and they tend to give gifts. So, yeah, go ahead.
If we give them a something in kind that has value, that reduces the amount of their donation. So we could, if we're going to do that, we should give them the option to either take the gift or to have all the money go towards the tree council.
I'm going to jump in and just give a 3-minute warning till the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Could we mention, I mean, there's a lot of folks here, and I don't want to commit anyone to anything that have skills and have abilities. I'm just thinking of, I mean, some of the folks who are landscape architects here who might be able to draw something neat that wouldn't even, I mean, $12 for a print is not that much in my opinion, but if anyone wanted to do that, or, I mean, is there any way that New Urban Forestry could like take someone on a tree climb one day? I know that I don't want to get you into liability or anything, but I mean, there might be some other outside the box things that the folks here in this group, or even people we know who might not be part of the CTC, might be able to bring as a thank you gift, something like that. That would be one other approach.
We couldn't do like a tree climb, but we could do like a tree walk and do, you know, like a guided walk or something like that. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a couple of people made huge donations and they got to go on a 8-10 person tree walk with, you know, some smart people like you all here, or Rodney, or even some professors, that I think that would be something a lot of people would probably value.
Yeah. You could have lunch. You could have lunch with an arborist any day, Mary.
Yeah. I'd be happy to, you know, I've got some gardens that would be happy to host that as well. But I think that we want to make sure we do something sustainable. So I guess I'm a little worried about you know, but I guess it could vary year to year, but these are all great brainstorms. And maybe we come up with that at a later date. We're running out of time. I wanted to just mention that Tori and I have not helped her yet, and she can report. I don't know if you've had a chance to connect with Rodney yet, but she has offered to serve on this committee and help kind of organize a timeline for previous events. Rodney had a mega file from Trees for Tomorrow of just various information that needed to be sorted through and organized to be put on this page on the website. So again, I'm happy to help with that, although we didn't get to it before this meeting. You have any update on that, Lori?
I do not. I have had a slew of family issues and then going out of town, so I've not had a chance to get with Rodney. But I can do that this week for sure. My schedule's not as hectic. I'll just bring a jump drive over and get that information, then I can upload it and start sifting through it and create the Google Sheet. So if anyone else wants to access it or pitch in, it'll be available for everyone to see.
That's great. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. And then we can go ahead and get that going. I think we're really close to taking this website live. What do you think, Jesse, needs to happen to make you feel comfortable about getting it out there?
We're so close. So close.
We have a meeting next week with our committees, so maybe that's a good time to fine tune and work on, you know, and if we need to reschedule our slot, but I think it would be good if as many of us that can get together for that, and I'll have my donation letter ready. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, guys. So I move that I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All in favor? Thanks, guys. It was great to see everybody. Hopefully everyone continues to stay well. Take care. Bye. Thanks.
Great job, Jesse. It looks awesome.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye.